Well, it's a nice summer afternoon. Some people are enjoying the water still. I think there's kind of a little neat phenomenon going on here. You see how the water is reflecting there? It's reflecting off of the cloud. So the sun's over here. But if you didn't know better, you could think that that was the sun over there. Isn't that neat? There's a storm up where you used to live. That's where Kitty Hawk is. Laughter. Isn't it nice to hear people laughing with joy? Not cynical laughing, not laughing at somebody else's mistakes or about some awful part of life or pain. And sometimes we laugh at those things. I guess there's some purpose in that, but the best kind of laughter is laughter of joy and happiness and gratitude, that kind of laughter. That's what the world needs more of. Peacefulness. You know, our body and mind, and I say our body, our nervous system is in our body and in our central nervous system and our peripheral nervous system. And so our bodies and our brains are all connected, you know, and so we feel a lot of our emotions and thoughts all through our body, through our muscular system and the endocrine system, and all these things are all connected. So I really in agreement with the idea that a lot of people put forward more recently as science, and that is that a lot of our memory is potentially contained outside of the brain or outside of the central nervous system, and a lot of that memory is contained, especially reactionary memory to adverse events and things like that, is retained in the peripheral nervous system, and so we react so fast and with such intensity throughout our body. And of course, we know that our mind and our physical, not the physical necessarily, but the brain. A lot of people, and I think correctly so, to talk about the mind as being what the brain is the mind is a separate from the actual physical brain. That's a complicated concept that scientifically still is very much people are trying to build theories around that idea, and how will we test that and all those kinds of things. But from a conceptual standpoint, at least, it's been around for ages, for millennia, and more so becoming accepted as a way to model our human existences with a mind that is a development from from possibly not so much just from in our brain, but emergent. It's an emergent property of consciousness. So shoot, we're going to go mumbling on about that for a while, but you can just look that up, or I've talked about it in other videos, or you can find a better explanation of it. But an emergent property just means that there's laws to nature, so to speak, and the brain is just a necessary component in allowing those laws of nature to be expressed. So the mind as an emergent property of having a brain. So maybe the bigger brain you have, the more mind you have. But, in other words, comparing ourselves to other animals, which to me seem to have very much a consciousness, a conscious existence, It's hard for me to look at something like a whale and think that animal is not conscious. There's just no way for me to think that it's not conscious. Anyhow, we develop all these reactions to these life events, and when you're young, especially young, you have a great opportunity. Well, when you're young, you have both, you're more susceptible to developing reactions and feelings and things to events that will potentially be with you for the rest of your life, and they're not always going to be the way that there could be known as adaptive traits. In other words, they help you for a while to while you're young, or it can happen at other points in life too, but they're not necessarily the state of being that you always want to have. They're not the normal state of being, or the most relaxed or productive or happy state of being. So, or normal might be a word. But while you're young, just as you have a susceptibility to those things, you also have the ability to have a very plastic mind. And if you can learn how to bring yourself back to a spiritual place, to be mindful and to learn what mindfulness is, and to practice putting your brain in the state that makes you feel comfortable and empowered and in control, not in a overly protective way or in a way that pushes other people away, just in a way that allows you to accept that other people also have problems and that you can accept them, but without allowing them to control you. And it's hard when you're young, because when you're young, you rely on older people and whatnot to help you. And so you might not be able to always actually have the ability to actually act upon that boundary. In other words, you might be able to, but you can start to develop in knowing that as you get older, you will be accepting, you will be loving, you won't develop hatred towards people just because they've not done things the way that should be done, or they've treated you wrongly, or this or that or the other. You won't be hateful of them. But you won't allow them to cause you to not be able to love and to find happiness and be grateful and to interact with other people in a healthy manner. You won't allow that, but you will. But you won't. But you will do it in a positive way. So we're trying to, find a way to take the high road and that sort of thing in colloquial terms. But that's more of a mindful. It's a mind and body connection that you can create for yourself. And the problem we have today is that the world. It's a give or take situation, but the world with its technology and its media and everything is always pushing into our lives at times where we need to be practicing and developing these other skills. And so it's consuming all this time that we can use to rebalance ourselves. And you need to be doing that even when you're young. I mean, it helped a lot for kids, especially when they could just get out and go run around outdoors in nature and that kind of thing more. That in and of itself is a very productive and good way for people to kind of help soothe themselves from traumatic incidences or and to cool off and those kinds of things without going too long. Because if you hold things in for too long, you start to internalize them and that sort of thing. But you're going to have to just learn to be able to cut time out, put those other things away, and to focus on your own personal state of mind and peacefulness, and to just develop those and to know that people love you, and they might not be able to be there to love you, or they may not have the capacity for other reasons to not show love at times. And I'm not just using love, but there's lots of other things, teaching and doing those kinds of things that people need to do for one another, and especially older people need to do for younger people. It's your life, and just don't allow the world to shackle your mind, to shackle your being. Develop that ability to center yourself and to find peace. And there's lots of ways to do that. And I say lots of ways to do that. There's lots of places that will also assist in that kind of practice. There's lots of people in the world and places in the world that know that's important still. It's just you got to look for it, And when you look at say your mother knows, for example, like yoga and those kinds of things do much for her, and hopefully she does more and more of those kinds of things, and she helps you do those kinds of things as well, because those are very positive things. I mean, in church, of course you got to be a little careful with any kind of social groups, church and the things that they're teaching in church, and should be things that help a person find peace and to learn how to socialize and in a positive manner and those kinds of things. And you're going to have your own little compass running, even when you're in a place like church, or even when you're in a place like yoga or stuff like that. I mean, you gotta, you still gotta be able to go back to your own compass, because but that's just kind of the way life is. But mindfulness, meditation, praying, and praying in a positive way, not praying in a wishful way. That's not good prayer. Good prayer is showing thankfulness and being grateful, and asking for guidance internally. To have the ability for your mind to be able to know how to deal with a challenge, and to plan, and setting goals, and to gain wisdom. You're a wonderful person. You're an amazing person. I love you.